Today, I want to talk about understanding your why. Because if you understand your why, then life will be so easy for you. It will be like a walk in the park. But you have to know what your why. What is your motivation to get up in the morning? What is your motivation to go to work? What is your motivation to even being who you are? When you understand the why in your life, I mean, you really dig deep and understand what your why is. What is your motivation? Why do you even want to do this business? When you totally get it, then you can do anything in the world. I promise you, you can. Now, I know you've heard a lot of people have said, oh yeah, you can be anybody or do anything and everything, but I'm telling you, you can, and there's a reason behind it. All right. So I'm just going to use an example. I want you to get a piece of paper, and I'm going to share some personal stuff of me. This will help you to figure out what your why. Now, when I joined Enagic, my wife said to me, point blank, she said, John, you can do the business if you let me run a marathon. And I didn't really want her to. I'll be honest. I didn't, because I thought she might get hurt. Because I know people who do that kind of stuff and they get hurt. And I just didn't want her to do that. And then she says the second thing is that you have to actually make money. Now, those were two of very important things. First of all, she wanted to do something I had no control of, but I knew that if I did not do what she asked, then I couldn't get the machine. And number two, she said I had to make money in this. In other words, this is your last straw, in other words, okay? And so I was highly motivated, but that's not what was driven my why. My why to do whatever I need to do. I already had a why, okay? I already had that. And I've been very successful when I do business anyway. My why, and I'm going to share with you exactly, and this will help you. Hopefully you have a piece of paper and to write, because you need to brainstorm. You need to dig deep inside of you that you totally understand what is your why. Why do you get up in the morning and so forth? Why do you do what you do? Okay, if you didn't understand your why, I'm telling you right now, you would never get up. You would just lay in bed and you would just die. Okay, so everybody has a purpose. The problem is that 99% of the people out there, they don't really know their why. They know a little bit, and they get somewhat motivated a little bit, but they don't really fully understand their why. And that's one of the reasons why some people make money and some people don't, is because they don't understand their why. And so I'm going to share some information, personal information about me, and you need to figure out, as I'm sharing, this will hopefully get your brain stimulating to figure out what is your why, okay? So when I was growing up, okay, I did not have a mom and a dad. And you're going, yes, you did. You weren't a test tube baby. I used to tell people I was a test tube baby, okay? I didn't have a mom and dad, and what happened is the state, the word of the court actually took me away from my father. My father was a single parent, all right? And then I was raised with they called them housewives. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. You can think whatever you want. I don't care, because I don't care about the person anyway. But at age 5, I was taken out of my home. My father supposedly, I don't know this for a fact, it's only what I heard, but he was an alcoholic, okay? And he was a bad person, okay? He spent time in jail. Again, all this stuff is from hearsay from other people. So I don't know for a fact. You don't. I don't. But it doesn't matter, okay? What matters is, how did I grow up and why am I the person who I am? So, since I was a ward of the court, what happened is that I got put into foster homes. And from age 5 to about 12 years old, I basically stayed with one family. The problem is that what happened is they end up getting a divorce. And guess what? I had to leave. And that really tore me up, you might say. Messed me up really bad. And then from there, I went into 17 other foster homes before at age 18 when I was emancipated. In other words, when I had to go on my own. And when the state pushed me out on my own, I never even had a job. And you say, well, how did you exist, John? And I'm going to tell you, throughout my entire life, I saved every single penny. I was a miser, you might say. I'm a very, very, very conservative person. And yes, I have made a tremendous amount of money, but a lot has to do with my background and how I was brought up, okay? And so I'm not a flashy person. You won't see jewelry. I do buy nice homes, and I usually pay cash. I've had $3 million homes over that. And not to be bragging or anything, okay? I don't want you to think that. Nice car, but, theater rooms in my homes. But if you saw me out in the real world, like I was at the library or I was eating at Taco Bell, because I do, you'd look at me and you'd think I was like everybody else. I was a guy who makes just a, minimum wage kind of person. I'm not a flashy person, even though I am pretty well off, and I'm very fortunate. Now, what caused that? And now I'm going to explain my why so you understand. And what happens is I did meet a person, and he, sent me some tapes, and of course I started listening and understanding my purpose in life, you might say. And at a very, very early age. And then what happened is I remember growing up, I didn't have a home. There were dirty homes, they were cheap homes. The foster parents, they only took in the kids because to make money, not to actually help the kids. See, that's a why. When you're actually doing something, some good for somebody else, that's motivation, all right? But their motivation was strictly money. So they weren't into it to help the kids. And that's how most foster parents are. And I'm pretty bitter about that kind of stuff because I went through over 17 foster homes, and every single one of them, all they thought about was the money. That's it, the money. And if you know me, I tell people when you're doing this business, you can't think about the money, and you'll learn about that as well. Because money is going to keep you away from really getting what you really want. That's all you think about. And you're going, wow, you'll be learning that on the training. Because I was living in a very poor situation, meaning I didn't have good clothes. Even my pants, people used to tease me because my pants were so short. Most people, their pants legs go to their shoes. Mine went to my knees. I'm exaggerating, but they were very high, and people used to make fun of me all the time. I never got lunch, but the state paid for my lunch, so I used to get teased about that. Oh, you're a welfare baby and all that kind of stuff. Names hurt. Sticks and stones, will break your bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, yes, they do. Okay, I'm going to tell you they do. All right. So I was in cheap homes. I was misfitted in shoes. So in other words, I never got really shoes. In fact, when I got older, I actually had to have an operation on my feet because what I was doing is I was doing a lot of martial arts. I had to get into something to tame this beast inside of me because I was so mistreated, you might say. And by taking martial arts, it really disciplined. And I got very, very well-rounded in martial arts, and I loved it. It disciplined my mind tremendously, okay? And I went into the highly advanced martial arts. We're talking, the Japanese and the Chinese and so forth, and it was the only thing that helped me, you might say. And because I was a pretty mixed up kid, I'm going to tell you straight up, being in foster homes, it really messes up your head bad. And I used to, put a lot of blame. So when I finally, was on my own at age 18, never had a job, what happened is they sent me out. They took me to a psychiatrist or whatever, therapist, I don't know. And she analyzed me and said, oh yeah, he can go on his own. At 18, bam, they shut me out the door. Luckily, my person that oversees me, they got me hooked up to an apartment. I don't know how I to this day I can't figure out how it happened. Okay, but I did. I never had a job. Okay, matter of fact, I didn't have a job. I didn't know about work because nobody taught me about working back then. And it was very difficult, but I had saved every single penny. What was I doing? I would go to neighbors and say, I'll pull your weeds, I'll rake your lawns, I'll, hose off your back porch. In other words, I was a kid, but I was doing and I saved every single penny. All that money for years and years and years is what made me survive in the real world at age 18. And If I didn't have that money, I don't know how I would have made it. I might have turned out like a lot of kids out there. They turn into, be bad people, the drugs, and they steal and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't me. All right. I remember being in housing with foster parents, and they were cheap, they were junk, and I just said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be like this when I grow up. And it was so strong, in me. And I remember saying, I'm going to build a home. And I give you my solemn word, at age, don't quote me exactly, but I'm going to say around 27, I started building my own custom home. Not me physically, I hired out, but I drew it on, and that was a $1.2 million. And you're going, wow, you must have made a lot of money. I did, okay? I was into the real estate and finance, and I made a tremendous amount of money, okay? And so I bought my first house when I was around 22 years of age. One of my foster parents said, John, you got to get a house. And luckily, that person helped me to understand that buying a house was very important and not renting. But, it wasn't, because of that drive in me, because I knew what it was like to have a poor house, not to have good shoes, not to have good food, not to have good water. All those things were my motivation factor, you might say. That is my why, my determination. So when my wife said, John, you can get into the business as long as you make money, and 2, you let me run a marathon, I didn't have a problem with that, because I already knew what my why was in the first place, all right? I already knew how to make money, okay? The only thing is I didn't like her to do a marathon, but hey, that's something that was my problem, right? I said, fine, you can, I whatever you say, I will do, because I really wanted to do this business. I worked really hard. And when I worked hard, I made a lot of money. And first 4 months, I made over 40 paychecks. And what I'm trying to tell you is, unless you know your why, you have to dig deep, 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 deep inside of you. I don't know what, it could be all kinds of, maybe you need to buy new clothes or new shoes or things for your children, or help one of your kids in college, or help grandkids or something. You got to have that why. That's what makes you exist. That makes you determine that you're not going to let anything get into your way. Even if you had a mountain in front of you, you would figure out how to either climb over it or go around it. In other words, you're not going to say, oh, I'm stuck, that's it, therefore I can't move. See, you can't have that attitude. That's why it's so important you understand your why. You have to. And so my thing to you today is to write down what your why is. And I mean really, really dig deep and understand it. Because unless you know what your why is, you won't make money. So you got this is a homework. This is a serious subject I'm talking about. Because this is what's going to make you who you are. I promise you. In fact, I'm very fortunate because all my entire life I've done very well. And the reason why is because I understood my why at the very beginning when the state said, okay, John, you're on your own, 18. I did not have any parents. I didn't have, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. I didn't have a backup plan. In other words, either I made it or I didn't. And if I didn't, what would that have been? Well, most kids, when I was in foster homes, they turned to drugs, they turned to stealing, going to prison, all that kind of stuff. I determined I wanted to be different. I wanted to be me. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I can tell you, I have done 3 custom homes. These are $1 million homes. I'm not trying to brag, but I did it, okay? And I keep, and probably I'm going to be moving into another area, and the home is going to be somewhere between $1.75 to $2 million. Again, I'm not bragging, and I'm paying cash for it. I'm trying to tell you, okay, that you can do anything, but you're going to have to start from the bottom just like I did. You're going to have to be determined. You're going to have to push really hard, and you're going to have to know your why, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to get in your way that's going to keep you from doing what you want to do. There's going to be so much stuff out there. I'm telling you, I promise you, there's going to be something. Maybe your spouse or your brother, your sister, your mom, dad, or your friends are going to say, oh, you can't sell, an SD501 or a K8 for $4,000 or $5,000. And you know what? Some of you are going to believe it. And others are going to say, wait a minute. Yes, you can. And I'm telling you, I'm living proof. I've sold well over 200 personal sales, 90% of all those K8, and they all paid by cash using their credit card. Now, I wasn't lucky because you know what? Think about the numbers, over 200. So what I'm trying to tell you is you can do what I do. You just have to be determined. You have to know your why. You have to figure out ways to help people to help themselves. So if you get a person that says, and I'm telling you right now, if someone watches that Pat Boone video, I promise you, there's no way in the world they're going to say, no, I don't want that. Impossible. If they watch that Pat Boone, they understand the water, that's it. Now, there's going to be something that's going to get in the way. What could it be? Well, one, they don't have a job. That's legitimate, okay? Two, maybe they don't have any type of money or cash or finance to be able to get the machine. It's your job to help that person if they really want to do this. And then it's up to them. You got to find out and listen, really, really, really put your whole heart and mind, soul, and listen to people and figure out. Because I promise you, if you talk to, and I give you my word, you talk to 30 people absolutely positively want this. They do. You're just going to get some people that won't. And one of the reasons is because you haven't given them enough reason for them to say yes. That's it. That's it. Okay? Because I'm telling you, there's not one single person on earth that would say, I don't want that water. You mean to tell me you don't want to improve your life? You mean to tell me you don't want to push all that toxic? You mean to tell me that, you're like a god and nothing's wrong with you? Now, I'm thinking this in my head. I'm not saying this stuff, but that's my attitude, okay? And so when I'm talking to people, I put my whole heart. I'm a good listener. I listen to them. I help them. And I find out, do they want this machine or not? Forget about the money. Do you want the machine? That's the question, I'm asking them. And you'll know it. You will know. I promise you. And if you do know, then it's your job to help that individual how to figure it out. So for example, someone said, I don't have credit cards, and you say, well, go to your family member, friends and family member, and make that monthly payment. See, you got to get creative. You've got to help them to help themselves sometimes. Because if you do that, they're going to be on your side. Yeah, I can do that. And you tell them, and you got to pay it back. You got to pay it back when you do that kind of stuff. See, you have to give people a reason why they want to get the machine in the first place. Because I'm telling you, once people see the Pat Boone video, I'm telling you, I'm giving you my solemn word, there's not one single soul out there in the world that's going to say no. I'm telling you, it won't happen if they really understand what the water is and you are there to answer every conceivable question for them. So that's your job. You need to help them to understand that water. Because if you help them, maybe they don't have a good understanding, and you ask them. Now, if they just watch the first 5 minutes of it and think they know the whole thing and then turn it off and say, I don't want it, that's legitimate. It's your job to get them to watch it again and find out by saying things such as, what did you like? What did you like when you watched that Pat Boone? What did you see interesting? What do you think about this whole thing in the first place? What do you think about this, this company called Enagic that has been making their own products? In other words, they haven't subbed it out. They hadn't gone to China or Korea to get all this stuff. They actually built every single piece. You got to ask those type of questions to them. See, you got to get them to start thinking. See, and it's going to come out and they're going to say, well, I really didn't watch it. I say, that's okay. I tell people, hey, no problem. Because once I understand that, I'd say, well, why don't you take some time and, watch it now. Listen to it. And let's check back. Let me see how you feel and think about this. I'm telling you right now, everybody that really watches it, I give you my solemn word, will want to get it. Now, how to get it, that's another story. That's your job to figure out how to help that individual. So you must know your why. You have to dig deep within you. And you can't let anything get in your way. Because like I said, if one day you woke up and you looked out your front yard and there was this huge, humongous mountain that was 20,000 feet up in the air and it took up the whole city block, Are you going to live just in your house and you're going to be in this bubble? Or are you going to do something about it? Are you going to walk around that thing? Or are you going to go over that thing? See, you've got to dig deep to figure out what is your motivation. What is your motivation? What is your drive? And I promise you, if you understand your why, your motivation, your drive, there's nothing is going to, in fact, all my life, and when I say all my life, I'm saying from 18 years and to this date, nothing has gotten into my way. Nothing, because I understand what my why is. And I'm not going to let someone out there tell me how to do things. Tell me that I'm going to be a nobody, or tell me that I'm a retard, or tell me that I'm not going to make money, or I'll never be up to this, or you can't do this and you can't do that. I don't let anybody tell me that. They can say it all they want. And if they do, they're not my friends. Next, that's my attitude. And that's what needs to be yours. Again, I'm John Shepkoff, and I'll see you, my friends, at the top.